happening, everyone? I'm going to talk to you guys about how do you talk about yourself online without sounding like a douche. So 3 years ago, I went through a divorce. I was $100,000 in debt. I'd lost my prior business. 3 years later, I'm a self-published author, podcaster, journalist, professor, curator of an online conference, and I'll say I'm ahead of myself. And I also produce, I'm the dean of my own university. So these are some of the things that I'm doing. And I say this not to brag, but it's more a parable of the age that we live in today, right? That you can be anybody you want to be, and you can do it for pennies on the dollar. So if you're a consultant, a coach, an author, a speaker, a designer, an expert of any kind, your perceived worth and value is directly linked to your personal story. This is why people are hiring you. So I started exploring this personal side of things a bit deeper. I wrote this article called "The Resume is Dead, the Bio is King," and it went viral on the internet. 8,000 people shared it on Facebook and Twitter, and I started to realize, wow, this is something that all of us are completely ill-equipped. Nobody's taught us how to tell our story. So if you think about it, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all these places, those are the social media breadcrumbs. And what do? They all follow back to some website where you have a presence. And the About page is one of the top 5 pages that people visit on your website. It's where people go to decide if they like you, if they trust you, if they want to do business with you. But keep in mind, right, it's also the hardest page to write because you have to talk about yourself. So what's the extremes, right? We're all afraid of being that obnoxious douche, the look at me. You know, I don't know if you realize this, but I'm kind of a big deal. We've all seen that. The other extreme is being really boring, shy, and sort of restrained. The other thing, and I was guilty of this for years, look, I was a nerd before it was cool to be a nerd growing up. And my deepest fear is to be judged and rejected. And I think this is the biggest barrier we all face with this social media world now where we all feel really exposed. So a couple quick tips. Number one, when you go to a networking party, right, what are the questions that come up? Where are you from? Where did you go to school? What do you do on the weekend? These are all questions where people are trying to basically see, do I share something in common with you? Those are cliche questions, but they matter for a reason. Another really important principle, think of superheroes. All right, superhero origins. They all have a backstory that speaks to how they came into their powers. No superhero is born a superhero, right? It's through circumstances. So Gary Vaynerchuk, natural born hustler. He used to have a franchise of lemonade stands and made $1,000 a weekend selling baseball cards, and that was before the age of 12. Okay, and he tells this story, and there's more to it, but there's this sense of, wow, this is what makes him tick. Now, some of you might go, well, I ain't no Gary V. So here's Margarita. She's a coach. And in her bio, she talks about how she honed her coaching skills in kindergarten. A chronic overachiever, she learned to master the art of shoelace tying, and so on. So another tip, the chocolate secret. So anybody who knows me, I eat more chocolate than the average human. Throw chocolate tasting parties. It's a whole other story. What happens, though, is I get emails and tweets from people all the time, and they use chocolate as the icebreaker. Okay, it's the social lubricant. So think about for yourself, what are things that you geek out on, as Jim spoke to, right? The things that you do for the love of it. It could be a food, hobby, subject, something you want to be known for. Expert story positioning. The most important thing you need to be talking about is you've been on a journey. You've learned things the hard way. What is it that you want to share so others don't have to struggle and suffer the same way you did? Now, these principles that I'm sharing with you, they apply for every profession imaginable. I've now worked with thousands of people through a whole curriculum about how to reinvent your bio into a story, whether you're an entrepreneur, a designer, a salesperson, the whole bit. Now, the concept of what you really need to always be thinking about is how do you help people locate themselves in your story? Help people locate themselves in your story. So you have to talk about context. You want to get to the why, right? Sort of give people that sense of what makes you tick and how you see the world. And if you start doing this, and I think this is a broader theme that we're all talking about, is you'll start getting paid what you're really worth by being who you truly are. This is a favorite quote of mine. No matter what you do in your life, what you create, what career you have, whether you have a family or kids or make a lot of money, your greatest creation is always going to be your life story. That's the age that we live in. We're all narrators of our own life story. And there's all sorts of ways that you can literally reinvent and reorganize your own story to support the future you're trying to create. So that's what we're going to be talking about in our group today. Questions like, well, what if I don't really know what my story is? Questions like, how do I build credibility around my story? Any issues around branding and authenticity and all that jazz. Here are some of the places you can find me. If you want to download a free copy of my story manifesto, you can do that at getstoried.com/thebook. I also have a virtual conference on storytelling that's coming up April 16th through the 20th called the Reinvention Summit. So if anybody's interested, just come up to me throughout the day. Thanks.